In this weekly roundup, I'm going to show you a couple paintings that are in progress, and I'm mostly going to talk about frisket. If you're not familiar with it, it is something that if you're an airbrush artist, you use a lot, but fine artists use it as well, or illustrators. There are lots of different uses for it, and I've used it for a variety of things in the past. But I'll show you what I'm using it for currently and tell you a little bit about how to use it. So the first painting I want to show you is a piece that's in my bottle top series. And this is Aperol. You'll know it if you've been to Italy or Australia often, and it's a popular drink here in the States as well, but Aperol Spritz is kind of a common cocktail that's very refreshing. And so this is an Aperol bottle as seen from the top down. And I'm not quite finished with it. I've got a few things to tweak about it. But one thing that I failed to mention in last week's weekly roundup was my new signature that I'm using on my smaller pieces. It's a JC. And I think it works well with the liquor bottles because it kind of looks like a graphic you might see on a liquor bottle. Anyway, that's Aperol, and that's going to be in a series of probably 10 pieces maybe. I'm going to be making prints of these. And I just love this pop of color on this black background. Another piece that's in progress is City Lights. I think I mentioned it in last week's roundup, and I ran into a little snag with City Lights because you know what? I'm just going to show it to you. It's a little hard to see the whole thing at once because my studio is kind of small, or it's not that deep, so it's hard to show you the whole thing. But let's see if I can position this. I had an issue with this bottle right here and this bottle. It's a grouping of quite a few bottles, and the proportions were off. So when you do that, you just kind of have to stop, reevaluate. I think one of the issues truly was that I couldn't get far enough away from it in my studio. Sometimes I drag things up into my dining room and I can get, very far away from it so I can really have a better look at it. So I'll probably do that later. But this bottle was too big and that one was too small. And this one is in front of basically this one. So the proportion was really off. You know, it happens. And you just have to go back and fix it. Gesso, that's where gesso comes in handy, is you can paint over anything, even though it kind of hurts once you've put in some time, but that's kind of part of the process, right? The good thing is you have to stop and evaluate and catch it. You know, if you finish the whole thing before you catch it, well, then you really have to start over. So now let's talk a little bit about frisket. This frisket is a masking film, and there's different companies that make it, of course. Art Mask. This is a roll of frisket. You can buy it in sheets, and you can also buy it with high tack or low tack, depending on the substrate, depending on what you're going to stick it to. The whole point of it is to block out something that you don't want to be affected by whatever paint you're putting on. So you can imagine with airbrush where you're spraying, let's say you want to maintain a portrait, a face, and you're spraying the background. So you're going to apply frisket to the character, the face, and then spray your background, and then you can remove the frisket when you're ready to paint the face. And as you can imagine, if you're, let's say you're working on paper, generally with frisket, you want to work on a paper that's got some heft to it, like a Bristol or something that, you know, isn't super thin, because it's going to stick and you want to be able to take it off without peeling off the paper. So in this roll, I'll show you a little piece I have. It's kind of, I don't know if you can see the sheen. See the sheen? And you just peel this. Of course, now that I'm trying to do it, see how it's a kind of like, etched glass is what it looks like, the film. And this is the sticky part. And then this is kind of shiny. Technically, I guess you could reuse frisket. The way I do it, and the reason I bring it up is I'm using it in these pieces. As I explained last week, the bottle I block out with frisket because I want to maintain the white surface of the gessoed canvas underneath. And then I'm applying a black gesso to the background because I want this very intense black background. See, I've got something there I've got to go over. But if I were to paint the whole canvas black and then try to paint this vibrant red and yellow, it's going to take a lot of layers and may never really be quite as effective, as bright as I want it to be. So, I mean, at that point, you could go back in and paint white gesso, but why create the extra work of that when you can just preserve the white of the canvas? What I do is I have traced, this is the one I did for Bombay Sapphire. I've traced the image that I want, and this is the Aperol one, you can see. So I trace the image on tracing paper, and then I put the frisket, making sure you have a big enough piece. I put the frisket on top on a lighted surface, and I have a light board that I use. And then you just trace on the frisket and then cut out the frisket so it's this shape. And then once you do that, you peel off the frisket, apply it to the canvas, and then you can paint your black surface. So let me show you one that I have. So here's one. This is Italicus, and I think you can see in the light where the frisket is. So what I'm going to do is peel that off. Oh, and that came from, this was my traced, there it is, the traced drawing. I didn't cut exactly around this because I was just putting frisket over this and tracing the outline. So I'm going to use an X-Acto. The other way, and I'm just using that to grab underneath the edge of this. The other way you can do frisket, and I used to do this on like a Bristol, a thick paper, is you put the frisket, the tacky side down on the paper, cover the whole image, and with a very sharp X-Acto, using a very fine touch, you just cut the frisket. It's actually easier to do than it sounds without cutting through the paper, because you can kind of feel the edge, or you can just feel the depth of the frisket. But having said that, I have had a lot of practice, so see if I can get this. Okay, so I freed up an edge on the frisket. And sometimes the frisket will tear, but just carefully remove. And there you have the bottle. So that's the Italicus. And now I have this nice clean white surface to apply that beautiful kind of a sea green aqua color of Italicus liqueur. So I'll be working on this one next. Frisket is a handy tool to have in your arsenal of things to use to create kind of cool effects. So check it out. You might kind of do an internet search and just see who uses it and how they use it. It's just a fun thing to play with. The other thing I wanted to talk about in this roundup is the 100-day project is coming up in a week. And I was playing around. I mentioned that mine this year is going to be 100 cocktails. And I want to do them on black paper and using my white Uniball pen. Show you those. These are the best white pens. They do such a great job. They don't skip. It's a real nice clean white. But I wanted to get 100 recipes and just indicate the actual recipe on the image. And then I'm going to be doing, like, this is Aperol. This is going to be an Aperol spritz. And I will be doing a realistic orange slice here, and then highlighting some of the features of an Aperol bottle. So the type I'll be filling in, and then the beautiful red color of it. So I wanted to play around with some layouts before the 100-day challenge starts and just see, if it was going to be something I thought I could do for 100 days. And I think I'm going to really enjoy this one. I think it'll be fun. I would like to get some nice finished pieces out of it and be able to sell those as prints for cocktail lovers. So stay tuned. That'll be February the 22nd. So that's it for this week's roundup. I hope you'll stick around and see what I've got going on next week. I'm really doing a lot of painting because I'm trying to get ready for the shows, the art shows that start in June. And that comes up pretty quickly, so I don't want to put it off. I need to keep making paintings. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week.